The shift I want to challenge you to make is shifting from an outcome-based approach to a process-based approach. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Morgan, for those of you who do not know me. On my channel, we focus on learning how to create a better reality, whether that's self-discipline, personal development, spirituality, manifestation, really exploring all different types of avenues around improving your reality. So that's a little bit about me. Today, we're gonna be getting into how to master self-discipline. All right, the first thing I wanna talk about when it comes to mastering self-discipline, the biggest thing I see in my life and also the lives of others is that we look at self-discipline as sort of a punishment. And I think if we can reframe how we look at self-discipline, it can actually be a more enjoyable thing. It all comes down to why don't we do the things we say we're gonna do. So if it comes to exercise, we wanna exercise, we know why we wanna exercise. We wanna lose weight, we wanna get more fit, it makes us feel better, tons of benefits to exercise. So why don't we do it? Well, I think a lot of it comes down to what we view exercise as. It's a form of self-discipline, something that we have to do in order to get a certain outcome. Now, if we talk about energetics, this has a lot to do with the sort of masculine perspective and paradigm that we're sort of transitioning out of, or rather learning that there are different ways to approach things. So self-discipline traditionally comes from sticking to what we say we're gonna do in order to get a certain outcome. Whether it's easy, whether we want to or not, we do it despite any external forces, despite the amount of resistance that is coming at us. Now, this can actually be a really counterproductive way of approaching goal setting. And it's because it's so outcome focused, right? We almost can't see the long-term payoff. And so we feel like the self-discipline, the things we have to do in order to get there are almost null and void. And we don't really want to do them. And this comes for any type of self-discipline, honestly. Exercise, working, budgeting, eating well, drinking water, whatever it is. And because it's so outcome focused, it makes us feel like if we do something enough times, we will get from point A to point B. It's a really binary way of looking at things. Now, if we can reframe self-discipline a little bit to the more feminine side of things, there's a different way to approach it that'll actually make us want to take action on our goals without feeling like we have to climb this uphill battle, like we're treading every single step we have to take towards these goals. The shift I want to challenge you to make is shifting from an outcome-based approach to a process-based approach. So instead of you working out to lose weight, for example, that's an outcome-based approach. It means that you're doing this to get this, and there's no immediate payoff. So what we want to do is look for the immediate payoff within these self-discipline actions that'll ultimately lead to our larger goals. This is shifting from an outcome-based approach, or rather a long-term outcome-based approach, to a short-term outcome-based approach and a process approach. That being said, if we can find a way to make the process enjoyable and actually reap rewards on site from the things that we're doing to lead toward these larger goals, it's gonna be completely sustainable and it's gonna be enjoyable while we do it. So how do we do this? We want to reframe self-discipline from an act of punishment or a means to an end to a form of self-love. This might seem kind of woo and strange, and I've been on a journey of self-love, I guess, for the past year or so. I felt like it was kind of dumb and didn't really mean anything, but as I started diving more into my self-talk and my habits with myself, I realized how much better I treated others versus myself. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think a lot of people do it. And the more we can actually tend to ourselves and water our own garden, we can actually show up better to the world. And self-love is actually a really important thing. I don't necessarily mean just in terms of, spa days or mud masks or spoiling yourself, but actually sitting with yourself and confronting your feelings and facing demons you haven't dealt with yet. These are forms of self-love, and also being disciplined is a form of that self-love. For example, if you were raising a child, you wouldn't let it eat only junk food all of the time. Now, that reaps an immediate reward and it can feel really good, but in the long term, it's not gonna yield a healthy outcome in life. I realized this because this was something I was doing in my own life. I was eating very unhealthy and I just wasn't tending to myself or taking care of myself. And I didn't see any issue with it because it was just me. And then when I actually sat down and realized how skewed that perspective actually is, it kind of is very uncomfortable that we do that to ourselves, right? We would never do that to a child or another person because we know that they need more than just junk food, and feeding them that is a form of neglect. And that's ultimately what I was doing in my own life. And I think that there are a lot of areas we all neglect ourselves because we almost don't feel like it's that big of a deal or like we're worthy of it sometimes. One of the reasons I realized I was eating so unhealthy is because I had this idea that I was supposed to be eating healthy. So I would almost rebel against myself and eat this junk food. It's kind of ironic, right? But it comes back to how self-discipline is actually a form of love. Because what I truly needed wasn't the junk food, it was the healthy food. And that wasn't supposed to be a form of rule or dictatorship. It was actually the more loving path to take. So I started being more gentle with myself and saying, okay, how can I incorporate more foods and not force myself into this perspective of you have to do this, you have to do this, but this is good for you. This is gonna nourish you, this is gonna prepare you for your day. You deserve these nutrients. Transitioning it away from self-discipline to self-love actually made me wanna do it. Now I eat healthier than ever and I have tons of balance because I've completely changed the paradigm. Eating healthy isn't a form of restriction in my mind anymore. It's a form of abundance and love and tending to myself so that I can show up as my best self. Because I shift this perspective, eating healthy is actually sustainable for me now. I'm not doing it for any sort of weight loss goal. I'm not doing it to get to a certain point. I'm doing it because it nourishes me every day, and I've noticed tons of benefits in my mood and my health. This is just one aspect of the way that we can reshape the idea of self-discipline into something that is loving and not a forms of restriction. So what I would recommend you do is sit down with your life, with all of the different areas of your life, all of the different areas that you have goals in, whether that's fitness, finance, health, friendships, whatever it is. Sit down with all of those things and ask yourself what self-disciplines you want to be taking. You probably have a pretty good idea of what these are already. Once you do that, then dive a little bit deeper and write down all of the reasons why you don't do what you say you're gonna do. Why don't you exercise every day? Why don't you eat as healthy as you say you're gonna eat? Why don't you budget in the way that you say you're going to? It's really, really important not to judge yourself through this process. This is simply gonna be for awareness because awareness in itself is curative. So you really wanna get to the root of what is actually happening subconsciously that's maybe sabotaging your goals. This is gonna help you recurate your lifestyle so that you can actually create sustainable processes so that it feels less like discipline and rigid structure and more like you just kind of thriving, goals naturally unfolding. Keep in mind this might come up in a number of ways. This might come up in terms of emotion, subconscious beliefs. It's because you don't feel like doing it. Really try to be specific in the moment when it's coming up. Say you say you're gonna exercise tomorrow and you didn't do it. Really reflect on why that happened. What caused you to make the decision not to do it? Are you procrastinating? Did you feel like it would be too hard? Did you feel like, oh, I'll never reach my goals, so it's not worth doing anyway? Or, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. What was the reasoning? What was coming up in that moment of decision? By identifying the things that are actually causing you to self-sabotage, you can create less friction points. So if I want to exercise every single morning and I'm noticing that the decision point of exercise is not after I'm dressed or after I'm ready to work out, it's actually before. Usually because I'm too lazy to change my clothes, I don't know what video to choose, I don't know what workout to do. What is it that's causing that friction point? And that's gonna help you mitigate that moving forward. Go from there and say, okay, I need to lay out a plan at the gym to show what kind of workouts I do so I'm clear and concise, there's no friction points. I go right in, I know what I'm gonna do. The easier you can make this, the more success you're gonna have. Or if you don't feel like getting dressed, it feels like a lot of work to even get into the workout mindset, lay out your clothes, make it as easy as possible, set them out the night before, even go to sleep in them. I've done that before. And then first thing when you wake up, you're ready to roll. All you have to do is put on tennis shoes and you can get out the door. Anything you can do to make this as seamless and easy as possible, you're gonna thank yourself because it's gonna be infinitely more enjoyable and sustainable for you. In addition to reducing friction points, also really sit down and get clear on your goals and figure out what it is that you don't enjoy about all of these self-discipline actions. For example, if it's eating healthy, maybe the thing you don't enjoy is the food. You feel like eating the food in itself is unenjoyable. Healthy food isn't delicious. Now that's not true. There's tons of delicious food recipes that are incredible and make healthy eating so simple. It makes it feel like you're not even eating healthy, quite honestly. You just have to get good at knowing how to find those things and potentially knowing how to cook them. Once you can get clear on the things that you don't enjoy, you can find solutions to actually make those things enjoyable. If you don't like working out, is it because you feel bored during your workouts? Is it because you feel uninspired? Some people don't like standard working out in the gym, so if that's the case, find something that you enjoy. Maybe it's tennis, maybe it's dancing. Get creative with it and actually make it fun. The more you can actually make your self-discipline actions fun, the more sustainable they're gonna be, and you're probably gonna end up doing them more than you even set out to do. The other thing I wanna add is to just be lighthearted with this. I think it's so easy for us to get really carried away with our goals and feel like we're supposed to be at a certain place or, you know, accomplish certain things in our life, and goals are definitely good, but the more we can just make it lighthearted and make it fun, the more successful we're gonna be at it. I have experienced this in so many different ways in my life that the more I can actually just take the pressure off, the more I actually succeed at whatever I'm doing. So take that pressure off yourself. It's really not as serious as we make it out to be. And if we actually make it a game and find fun in the ways that we can succeed and actually remind ourselves that this is all truly play, the more successful we're gonna be in all of our different endeavors and the more fun we're gonna have. And isn't that really the whole point? Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch, and let me know in the comments down below if you have anything else that you've learned in your life has really helped master self-discipline so that we can all do better at accomplishing our goals and creating a life worth living for ourselves. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Thanks, bye-bye.